Greetings everyone, welcome to another slice of exclusive content. Thank you for your support. If you're watching this, this isn't going out to everyone, just a few people that are a little more invested in what I'm doing here, and I do appreciate it. The other thing about these type of videos is it's not fancy, it's not polished, it's just me picking a topic and just kind of off the cuff talking about it. Hopefully I can impart some advice and maybe something that you guys could use. So let's talk about critiques. First of all, let's talk about giving critiques, or when people come to you, helping them out and kind of steering them in the right direction, giving them some advice. If you're in that kind of position, that's something I don't do a lot of because I don't really want to hurt people's feelings, and I don't want to, I remember getting critiques. It's not always the fun thing. It's very beneficial, but you have to be in the right mindset. And I don't even know if I was in the right mindset to receive a critique. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so I don't do a lot of critiques. What I try to do is, you do sort of that sandwich technique where you give some pluses, give some positives before you get into sort of that nitty-gritty of things that they have to change, things that people have to work on and everything. And then you come back around with, I think if you work on these things, then you're going to benefit from that and everything like that. So sandwich, positive, negative. I don't even want to say negative, but it's all, hopefully this is all constructive, because that's another thing when you're giving critiques. You don't want to just rip people's stuff apart. This isn't where you're just like, oh, this is garbage. And I've had that before. This is garbage. Even if it isn't to a certain standard, I think there's better ways you can approach that and just say, look, I mean, if you want to do this professional, it is not at that level. I mean, you don't have to be mean about it. And sometimes what people giving critiques will do is they'll just try to scare people away. And I can sort of understand this approach, because what it is like, if somebody's just not at the right level and you just rip them apart, which I don't like to do again, but if you just rip them apart and and you say, yeah, you're never gonna work in this industry, you don't have what it takes or whatever. And sometimes when they say that, they're not actually saying that because they want you to just quit. They might be challenging you. They might be wanting you to say, well, I'll show this guy, I'm gonna work extra hard. But it's really kind of a dangerous route to go, because you never want to do that, because you could just, somebody might be going along on this certain trajectory where it just might take them a little while longer, and they might get to it, and you by just saying this is garbage, you're never going to do this again, you may totally just like crush their dreams, and they just might give up. But the reason why some people kind of take this tactic, some people are just mean, and some people are just, that's the way they go, they don't care. But some people will do this because the idea is that if you hear these kind of critiques or this kind of criticism, and you're just willing to throw it all away, then you're probably not gonna make it in this business anyway, because it's tough, because you are gonna get that no matter where you go. So you have to be ready for that. And that's kind of its advice for people that are seeking out critiques as well. So, but there are those people that are like, well, I'm gonna show you, and then they turn around and they totally prove the person wrong. And I don't know too many, and the idea of like, I'm gonna prove you wrong, and then I'm gonna show you that I got in this business, and I'm gonna come to you and I'm gonna show you that. And there's that whole thing about J.K. Rowling, where she was turned out so many times by so many different publishers and became a big success. She could have went back to all those different people and like, you made this huge mistake. And there's just something about that sweet revenge when you get to come back to somebody who told you couldn't do something and you do it, and that's sort of empowering. That feels real good. But a lot of people, I think, if they said, you'll probably never, like, again, I wouldn't do this, but if I told somebody, yeah, I just don't think you have what it takes, and they came back and they said, this is what I'm doing professional work, what do you think about that? And I'd be like, that's awesome, I'm so glad you proved me wrong. Because if that was to happen, if I was somehow, and I don't think I've ever been in a position where I've told somebody that, but if I happened to, or something came out the wrong way and they came back and said, you told me that I couldn't do this and I did, and I'd be so happy for them. So sometimes that's the tactic that people take when they are doing critiques, is they're just trying to kind of, I guess, weed out the people that just don't have what it takes, not from a talent or a skill standpoint, but from from the standpoint of you're going to have a thick skin if you're going to be in this business, because there's constantly people, you know, telling you that you can't do it. And a lot of that gets into, and it's not always people that are in a position where, you know, they're an artist themselves or they're doing what you're wanting to do. A lot of times it's people that don't know any better. They may have not been able to reach their dreams, so they want to squash yours before it happens. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, when you're doing critiques and everything, try to use that sandwich technique. I wouldn't advise, you know, I would probably come out and just tell them what I'm telling you. I might say, look, I really don't think you are anywhere where you need to be, but if you really believe in this hard enough, you're not gonna take what I'm saying as gospel. You're gonna prove me wrong, and I want to see you prove me wrong. So come back here sometime, improve your skills, and I want to see you come back and prove me wrong, and actually just be honest about something like that. Those are some thoughts as far as giving critiques. But as far as taking critiques, when you go and present your work, I think the most important thing you can do is, and you have to be honest about this, honest with yourself. Can you take a critique? Are you going to be okay with all the negative things that people are going to say? But you have to let the person giving the critique know. You have to say, look, I want you to be brutally honest. I know this is probably going to hurt, but I need to hear it. I need to know, you know, what I need to do. Because otherwise, if somebody doesn't say that and they're coming to me for like advice or critique, I'm not going to be hard on them. I'm gonna say what positive things I can, because I just don't want to squash anyone's dreams. But if somebody came to me and says, please be brutally honest, then I would do that. I would say, you know, here, this is where you're lacking, this is what you need to work on, and you've got a long way to go, and you need to ask yourself, are you really willing to put in the amount of time? Because it's gonna, and people learn at different rates. Some people just take to art like it's nothing, and they're, you know, it's just like right out the gate they just get better and better and they're amazing. Some people it takes a lot longer, and you know, I see people that have been doing it for a while and they're just still not quite to that level, and maybe it just takes you longer, but you have to, you know, or maybe they're not focusing on the right things, and that's something as people who are giving the critique can kind of hopefully say, this is really what you need to practice on over and over again, because it's just not coming out in your work and all that. But you have to, if you're going in for a critique, you have to let the person know, please, I know it's going to hurt, because some people just say that, be brutally honest, and they don't mean it, and when they get it, then you know, it's like, ooh, this really hurts. Oh man, why is this? You know, and they might end up regretting it. But if you want to get better, you're going to have a little bit of a thick skin. The other thing you want to do when somebody's giving you a critique is don't make excuses. Just kind of listen to what they say, and because everyone's got their own excuse, and if you're like, yeah, but I was trying to do this or that or whatever, I mean, you're going to a professional or somebody in a position asking them for their advice. Don't second guess what they're saying or try to make excuses or tell them why you did a certain thing this way if it's not right. And the other thing you have to understand, and you know, you can go to 10 different people giving critiques, and they might all tell you something different and something contrary to what the other person said. So you kind of have to take that all in, and you kind of figure that out for yourself. Because I went to critique when I was going out, when I was trying to break into comic books, going to San Diego Comic-Con and all that stuff. I'd have people saying, your stuff is too cartoony, your stuff's not cartoony enough. I mean, you get conflicting advice. If you start hearing the same things over and over again, that's the stuff you concentrate on. But if you're getting conflicting advice, then you have to dig a little deeper and try to figure that out. So that's something you have to consider. But don't second guess things. Don't say, yeah, I can do better, but, you know, and if you could do better, don't put that in your portfolio. Always put your best stuff in your portfolio. So there should never be a reason to say, yeah, I can do that, but I just wasn't feeling it at this point or whatever. So always put your best stuff in. Be willing to be able to take critique and be honest with yourself, and that's super important. So yeah, those are some of my advice as far as giving critiques, taking critiques. If you have anything that I didn't cover that you are curious about, or you have other advice that's good for receiving or getting those are the same thing. Receiving and getting, giving and receiving critiques, please let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. That is all.